Hi, this is John Delancey, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Today on Weekend at the Movies, we're back, and we're catching up with 2015. So with me, once again, is Nathan. Hello.
Hello.
And Fridley Sent.
Hello.
So it's been a while since the three of us have been together on the podcast, probably about 6 or 7 months. So we are making our grand return here and starting off again here in 2015 with all new stuff. You most recently heard Matt last week with our box office predictions, and before that, the week before that, you heard his voice on the PFFL Fantasy Film Draft. We've had a little bit of time since we did the draft. Matt, what are your thoughts so far?
Well, I got two thoughts. The first one is I didn't know Taken 3 was happening in 2015. When it came to my last pick, all of the guys I was really looking at had been taken, and I just was like Liam Neeson into IMDb, and it had, Taken 3 2014. I was like, okay, well, that's not going to burn me. So that's my first thought. My second thought is I will trade Liam Neeson for anyone, including Diesel Ramos, who I don't think is worth any points since he's not credited in any movies.
Well, no worries, because so far I'm in dead last. I'm in the process of making everybody's individual team pages so that you can track how your actors are doing, and so other people can track how each team is doing. I've done mine so far, and I have two people that are giving me -4 points apiece.
Wow.
So that's trumping your Liam Neeson. My Sean Bean and Julianne Moore for being in Jupiter Ascending and Seventh Son are hurting me big time right now.
Well,
but
hey, I saw Jupiter Ascending, so maybe that got it up.
Wait,
there you go.
So is it like if it's below budget, you lose points if it's above budget?
That's what's hurting me right now is there's a big negative for... There's a bunch of different stuff. There's like appearing in a movie, okay. There's making X number of dollars, there's awards, there's Rotten Tomato scores. But one of the big negatives is not making your budget back as a movie or not even making half of your budget. And so far, Jupiter Ascending and Seventh Son, neither of them have even come close to half of their budget. So
yeah, I want to apologize. You asked me to do this, and it was like, that's the furthest thing I can think of that would be fun to do. Because, like squabbling over, like, little details about, like, budgets is my least favorite part of movie talk. Like, I'm like, what's the movie? Is it good? I want to watch good movies.
Right. Well, we only made the budget part of it, so there's part of it for box office, there's part of it for critical acclaim.
Yeah.
Some people were not aware that there was more than budget. Is very clear. And then two, like, I totally didn't even. I skimmed the rules. I'm not gonna lie, and I committed to memory. It's like, okay, I need to worry about budget. I need to worry about awards, and I need to worry about the future casting things or whatever.
Right.
I did not read the Rotten Tomatoes or did not commit it to memory. If I had, I might not have banked on Paul Blart 2, because apparently the first one did not do well on the Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it did well monetarily, but since it's not going to win me any awards or anything, it might just be a wash.
Yeah, and I kind of went, everybody had their different strategies. Some people went straight box office and picked every Avengers and Star Wars person they could possibly pick. Some people went for more of the award potential, like someone picked Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's so far only slated to appear in one film, so they're hoping that it's an award-worthy film. I went with who's going to be in the most movies. I just figured if they're in a lot of movies, maybe I'll have better shots at everything. So
yeah,
I tried to go with people that were in like 4, 5, 6 movies. So
except for
we'll
Diesel
see what
Ramos.
Yeah, we'll see what strategies work out best. But that was something that we recently did, and now we're getting back into the swing of things because we've somewhat worked out what should be a regular schedule here, where we're going to be recording every Thursday nights, and we'll be giving it to you guys live on Friday at some point to listen to over your weekend. And between Matt, Nate, myself, and Movie Revolt Dan, we should hopefully every week have at least 2 people that are available, and then we'll keep pumping out the episodes like we were doing last year. Just a quick catch-up for people that might not know. Nate, what has been going on in your life the last 6 months?
Oh, well, I moved, and then I got married, and then I got a job. Not in that particular order, actually. But yeah, I got a new job, and it's awesome, but it's far away, so that's kind of lame.
Right, but now you're left with some time during the week to kill, so it allows you to get your podcasting on.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Totally.
And Matt, how about you? What's the last 6 months been treating you like? You've been the one that hasn't had as many conflicts, and you've been the one that's just had to suffer at our schedules.
I was gonna say nothing has really changed. I got my vacation back.
Woo!
One negative to my otherwise very amazing job is that when you go full time, you don't get any vacation for a year. And this currently is my first week off in over 18 months.
Oh, jeez.
Which I'm living it up. When we get to the movies we've watched this week, you'll see just how living it up I've been doing.
Nice.
So yeah, no, it's just I haven't done much. Like I had any project I was working on 6 months ago has fallen through the wayside, and I've got a new project.
Nice.
That's all I do.
You
I like
jump
projects.
from project to project.
Jump from failing ship to failing ship.
Abandon ship, on to the next one. But yeah, it should be fun. We're gonna change things up a little bit here in 2015. Keep a lot of things similar to what you were hearing in 2014, but we're gonna add some different flares along the way, I guess. So you'll see the format kind of being tweaked here these next couple of weeks until we settle on something that we all kind of enjoy and like. But there is going to be some special episodes as well. We're not going to try to do new movies every single week. Just because of all of our schedules, sometimes it's hard to all see the same movie. So you will hear occasionally, something that's in the theater and all three of us giving our takes on it. But we're also going to do some look back at some other different movies. We also have some special themed episodes. So I'm not going to give anything away as far as what we will be doing, but you'll hear some different ideas and different fun things going along the way that'll keep things hopefully fresh and interesting for those people that are listening. But without giving too much away, today's main attraction, we're just going to be catching up right now with what's going on so far in 2015. Any movies we've seen from 2015 so far. I know Matt and I have seen a couple similar, so we'll be talking about those a little bit. But we will start the same as we did back 6 months ago, looking at the box office from this past weekend. So, looking at the box office from this past weekend, it was a landslide victory, #1 film, in case anyone's living under the rock. Or A-Rock, not Dwayne Johnson, but A-Rock.
Dude, could I live under the rock? Get off of me!
Depends if it's like the apartment underneath him or if it's literally underneath him.
Either one.
But that would be 50 Shades of Grey, which brought in $85 million this past weekend. So it doubled its budget. So anybody in our fantasy league that had a 50 Shades of Grey member, you're probably going to be involved with the first movie that breaks the 100 million mark as far as that actually have actors or actresses drafted. Has been another 100 million movie this year so far, and that was SpongeBob.
Take that, the first SpongeBob movie.
Who thought SpongeBob would? It's leading the year right now with 107, and technically, if you don't count just the weekend, 50 Shades of Grey has broken the 100 million mark now. So, but it had 85 million for the weekend. Kingsman: The Secret Service was #2 with 36. SpongeBob in its second week was in third spot with 31. Then American Sniper still bringing in some money. It has now passed the 300 million mark. And Jupiter Ascending was fifth this last weekend with 9 million. So it's up to 32. But that's not even near its $176 million budget. So that's the first top five we'll go over here in 2015. Matt, are you surprised at all that 50 Shades of Grey beats Kingsman, or was that kind of something that you expected with the craze that the book had a few years back?
No, it's not surprising at all. I mean, part of me was doubtful that it was going to do well, especially when you hear things like... There's a lot of outrage that the book, I mean, we can all agree, was aimed at mostly female demographic, and the movie, I believe, has female nudity but not male nudity, which is like, I know there was a lot of internet outrage. I don't know how much of that was legitimate or whatever. And just to add a little bit of weird statistical information that I do have, I've heard actually women tend to look at other women in a nudity situation rather than the guy, so maybe that's not as off-putting as the internet thought it would be. I'm not surprised. That's ultimately what it comes down to. That said, I've read some of the book, and it's not very good writing.
And of course, there is the typical this time of year Oscar jumps for any movies that were nominated for Oscars. So you're still seeing American Sniper, The Imitation Game, Selma, Birdman, Whiplash, The Theory of Everything, all making some money as they all get re-released or special screenings in different theaters. I know a lot of the AMC theaters do their 2-day Best Picture Spotlight where you can go see like 4 or 5 movies one day and 4 or 5 the other day. Movie Revolt Dan actually did that this last weekend, which is why he has not seen The Kingsman: The Secret Service yet, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. So yeah, that's the box office for this weekend. 50 Shades of Grey taking the first spot. Not much should change if I'm going to be a predictor for this next weekend, because really nothing comes out outside of Hot Tub Time Machine 2, which I don't see putting too much of a dent in 50 Shades or Kingsman. So we'll have to wait and
This Black Hat only made $7.8 million, and it's out of theaters.
Yeah, Black Hat got pulled out of the theaters so fast. I was actually going to go see that, and then it became impossible.
It was in theaters for like a week or two.
Right.
Maybe 3.
It was just immediately gone, and it's like I was almost like Old Boy last year, where it just literally, with no explanation, disappeared. So I'm not sure why.
Strange Magic I wanted to see, but I don't think that's hit our theaters at all, and I think it's leaving too.
I was actually able to see Strange Magic. It was here for a little bit.
It's probably like
a little bit longer than a Black Hat. So
I did not.
Yeah, it's always the game there.
Dang.
I don't know why Black Hat would get pulled so fast, and some of these other movies would be allowed to linger, but I guess that's just the way it is.
Mordecai's still in theaters.
Yeah. Getting into some of the news, though, we'll start with some sequel and remake news. We got about 4 items there to discuss real quick and get your guys' opinions on it. Starting with another reboot of a movie that's already been rebooted. That's the stage we're at, guys. We're no longer just rebooting old properties. We're rebooting things that have already been rebooted.
Spider-Man.
So,
Spider-Man.
Like Spider-Man, but a different film here altogether, and that's New Line Cinema, which is apparently starting talks to reboot Shaft once again.
Shaft.
So, we had the 1971 original with Richard Roundtree, and then about 15 years ago we had a Samuel L. Jackson version. So, is it time for another Shaft, Matt?
Well, if you consider from Roundtree to Jackson, it was 30 years. And it's now been 15 years since the Sam Jackson one. Why not at this point?
And who plays Shaft this time? Terry Crews?
Yeah. That was exactly what that was. No, they haven't done anything at all. But they literally just were like, you know what? Maybe we should talk about Shaft, and then it got thrown on the internet because it's the internet. But yeah, no. If I were gonna choose anyone, it would be Terry Crews, just because Terry Crews is like one of my favorite people.
Oh my god.
I watched on Hulu. It's like America's Funniest Home Videos, but it's like so extra dumb. It's like America's failiest fails.
I saw like 2 minutes of that. I was like, what in the God's name is this?
But if you want to see some unadulterated Terry Crews on stage, it's pretty great. Just unscripted. He's just jiggling his pecs and doing push-ups and picking up contestants, which is weird to have a contestant on a funny clip show. It's a weird show, but it's fun because Terry Crews is awesome.
I saw a terrible movie that had Terry Crews in it, but he was the best part of the movie.
As he sometimes can be. And the reason this is making headlines is because apparently New Line purchased the rights to Shaft, so that's getting everybody talking about. If they purchase the rights to him or to that property, they must be thinking about making some type of movie out of it. So,
technically, the Sam Jackson one was a sequel, not a remake.
Okay.
Because he plays like a cousin of the original Shaft.
Right, a family member of that. Have either of you guys seen either of the other ones?
No.
I should.
I would love to.
That pretty much talks to how excited I am about it. I think I've seen the Samuel L. Jackson one, but...
You think?
Yeah, that's how much of an impact it had on me.
Forgettable.
Pretty much. The big news as far as reboots or sequels or whatever it's going to be this last week that was making the rounds on Twitter and whatnot was, of course, the confirmation that Neil Blomkamp will be directing a new Alien movie.
Yeah.
Neil Blomkamp, who did, I know a lot of people did not like Elysium, but he also did District 9, and currently this year has Chappie, which will be coming out. So apparently he has been pinned to make a new Alien movie. Have you guys seen all the Alien movies?
Nope. I've seen Alien versus Predator. That's it.
That's just like, I was just listening and Talking in Circles last week, and they were talking about their list of shame, and there was both of Dan's friends, Chuck and Greg, had both seen AVP, but neither of them had seen, one of them hadn't seen any of the Predator movies, and one of them hadn't seen any of the Alien movies, I think.
Yeah, AVP was really kind of dumb. Like,
yeah, I don't think that does it justice, because that was after...
No, I know. I know it's amazing. I know I have to watch it. I actually, my friend brought over a pack of all, like, 4 movies or something to watch.
The first 2 are definitely worth it.
Yeah,
I don't remember much after that, but Alien and Aliens are definitely worth it. And then, of course, we recently had Prometheus, which is also going to have a sequel. And I think this one is going to be somehow connected to those films, maybe.
Okay.
Well,
from what the article says.
I was going to say, wasn't there like clues in the original Prometheus that lead you to believe it's in the same universe or whatever? Or
yeah, it's supposed to be like a somewhat beforehand, I believe.
Super prequel.
Yeah. And a lot of people hated Prometheus. I thought it was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, a lot of mixed reviews. I got Prometheus action figures, if that means anything.
That's awesome.
Mainly the tentacle monster, which came in a 2-pack with a screaming burn-faced Patrick Stewart.
Nice.
Okay.
Of course, the reason this is making the rounds is because Neil Blomkamp himself actually tweeted out a picture of an alien, and it said, "So I think it's officially my next film, #Alien."
I wish I
or
were
Instagram.
famous and I could just tweet out things like that are just not true.
Yeah, that was actually it was on Instagram, not Twitter. I don't want to get people mad at me, but yeah, I think a lot of people are interested in that because he's done similar things that have been interesting, and regardless of how much people might have not have liked Elysium, I think a lot of people connect this to what he did with District 9 and when he was dealing with the aliens there. So I'm on board. I would have to revisit the Alien franchise, and see what those were like as an adult rather than just as my 10 or 11-year-old self or whatever age I was when those came out. But I'm down. So we'll have to see how that goes. And then another sequel here. I didn't know they were going to keep doing these. I thought they were done. But Pirates of the Caribbean 5 apparently now has a title and a synopsis if anybody gives 2 rats ass about that. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. And I would read the synopsis, but I really don't think anybody cares what the synopsis is. I don't even know if those films need synopsises.
Hey, now, here's what you do. Hey, it's Pirates of the Caribbean 5. There's going to be Magic and Johnny Depp. It's going to make $1 million.
And probably Jeffrey Rush. So
that said, I rather enjoyed all of them, and I'll see this one in theaters.
Oh, I enjoyed them too. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know if the plot is a crucial point to the Pirates of the Caribbean films at this point.
No, especially all you need is the first 10 minutes of the 4th one, and you know that they don't care anymore. It's literally, it was just Jack Sparrowing around for 10 minutes, and it was hilarious and awesome.
Yeah, I like him as that character, regardless of how many people have hated him since then, because I think he's doing that character in every movie. But I like that franchise.
I think Johnny Depp is just being Johnny Depp.
Right.
Well, we had that news article last year where, at least I think it was on this show, where they talked about how famous actors like Johnny Depp and Will Smith have special writers that when they sign a contract on a movie go back and rewrite some of the lines to be more like the actor.
Oh, I did not know
I
that was
remember
a thing.
that. I might have just found that on my own.
I thought actors' jobs were to interpret scripts in...
No, that's directors.
Okay.
And going right off of what we might be talking about a little bit later, at least partially, with the Kingsman movie, apparently there's already a sequel in the works. So
I was going to say, there was buzz about that, on Saturday. It released on Thursday, Friday. There was buzz about the sequel on Saturday.
Right. And the news article that was directly quoted with Matthew Vaughn here is saying that there's a possibility that Colin Firth would return for a Kingsman sequel. I'm going to save too much of my thoughts on that for when Matt and I talk a little bit about Kingsman. But that's interesting that Colin Firth would somehow be returning.
No spoilers.
Oh,
So
stop it, guys.
but yeah, I mean, I enjoy the idea of another Kingsman movie because I really enjoyed the first one, but we'll save our thoughts on that and we'll come back to it. But were you guys paying attention to all these different casting things that were going on during the week? I don't know how much you guys follow on or who you follow on Twitter or this, that, and the other, but there's been a barrage of casting stuff in the last 7 to 10 days.
I get all of my news from Weekend at the Movies.
Oh, so here we go. So first, obviously, you guys are probably aware that they're doing a Suicide Squad movie.
I remember that from Weekend at the Movies earlier.
Yeah, it's something we taught everybody a long time ago. And they've been coming out with a whole bunch of casting news on that. Some that we have known for a little while and some that are becoming newer now. But obviously, Will Smith will be doing Deadshot.
That's an interesting choice.
Right. And Margot Robbie, who is also in the movie with Will Smith this year called Focus, will be in the Suicide Squad with him. And that's been known for a little bit, but now also Jay Hernandez, who some people may know, some people may not. He's a big star on Friday Night Lights. He will be on the Suicide Squad as well. They're saying that he may possibly be a prison inmate of the Joker. So that's, I don't know. I'm not really big on him or know his history a lot, but there's also then one more name, which will be Joel Kinnaman, who apparently is replacing Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy has dropped out of the Suicide Squad, so Joel Kinnaman will be stepping up in his shoes, who's been doing a lot of stuff. You guys probably remember him mostly from RoboCop.
Didn't see it.
Nate, you saw RoboCop, didn't you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you guys
well,
haven't
I've seen the original. But
No, this is the guy that was RoboCop here in the last in last year's.
No, I heard it was terrible though. It's like wasn't that like a PG-13 version of RoboCop?
It had its issues, that's for sure.
Dan didn't dislike it, if I remember correctly. One of you two was okay on it because I listened to the M-Wire Weekly before I joined it.
Right. I mean, I think it had some issues for sure. It was had some flawed parts. I mean, it had some entertaining parts and some good nods to the old one, but it definitely had some issues. But the main star there, which is Joel Kinnaman, who will be joining Will Smith, Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, Jared Leto, also Viola Davis, and a couple other people. So, I mean, it's getting a lot of stars connected to it, regardless of how you feel about it. And Joel Kinnaman is apparently possibly going to be playing Rick Flag in that. So
I don't know. I don't like the idea. Let's get some less famous people. Maybe that's a good idea. Just because you stack a bunch of stars doesn't mean you got a good movie.
Right, especially depending on the director. So I don't know how everybody else out there, I haven't been paying too much attention, so definitely comment on this post and let us know what your thoughts are so far of the Suicide Squad cast or just the idea of the Suicide Squad movie in general. Because I'm interested to see what people think about these. I haven't been keeping up. I've kept up to see who's playing who, but I haven't kept up with, what the reactions are and who's for it, who's against it, or what the issues are. So I'd be interested to see people comment and give us their opinions on that. The other film that's been getting a whole bunch of casting news is the Deadpool movie, which is being done by Fox, which all of a sudden, right off the bat, should probably scare some people. But I'm going to say this name wrong, but Morena Baccarin, who is on Homeland, is going to be playing there opposite Ryan Reynolds. And also, they're talking about Colossus being recast because it had been the same person for a while, Daniel Cudmore, who had played it in previous films. But apparently he is not doing it because he tweeted out that he'd had an awesome time doing it, but unfortunately will not be appearing in this one. And Gina Carano, the ex-UFC Ultimate Fighter MMA person, will also be doing some type of role in Deadpool. So, I don't know. I know a lot of people, when they saw the actual pictures of Ryan Reynolds, in the Deadpool garb or stuff like that, or the pictures that came out from that, started getting on board a little bit. But a lot of people were apprehensive about Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool at all.
He was the one who played him a while back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a terrible casting choice. I think if anyone can play a very annoying person, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, totally. He could totally do it, but, when he did it before, they like had him not
Writer-director
talk.
issues.
Yeah. It's like, why?
Yeah, there's
how
just
can
the
you?
bad writing of that character.
How could you not have Deadpool talk?
Like,
What
literally,
is the point?
his name is the Merc with a Mouth. That's his tagline.
Yeah.
Like, so sewing his mouth shut early on, I didn't see that movie because it looked terrible.
No, yeah,
But
that's pretty much what happened.
sewing his mouth shut early on, it sounds like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, it's like, okay, so we got this Green Lantern movie. No green allowed. What?
Got this Deadpool guy. Don't let him talk.
Don't let him talk.
Yeah. So, again, I've heard a bunch of mixed reactions on this Deadpool thing so far, but I'd be interested to hear everybody that listens to Weekend in the Movies, the 2 or 3 of them, what they think of the Deadpool casting so far in comparison to, the Suicide Squad. Which one are you more interested in as far as how it's shaping up so far? And this is where we kind of get into some interesting territory with the Weekend at the Movies for those people that are involved in the Fantasy Film League, because when we do this casting segment, that's when we're going to be talking a little bit about possibilities of some actors that are involved in different people's teams and what movies they might be lined up for and if it qualifies for major casting or not. So far, none of the names we've been throwing out really have been, I don't think are on anybody's team. I may be wrong. But I know this one is, and that's Marion, I always say her name wrong, but she is in line apparently to join Assassin's Creed. So a co-star for Michael Fassbender. So that would be interesting if those two are paired up together, and that would probably mean some points for the owner of Marion there. But that movie is going to be coming out December of 2016. So it's still a ways off, but it looks like the next Assassin's Creed adaptation here, or the first, that's the first movie, right?
What?
For Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't made one yet.
Yeah, so the first Assassin's Creed movie right now with Michael Fassbender as the lead and Marion Cotillard as the co-star. And people can correct me on how I'm supposed to be saying her name.
Dan can. I've heard that.
Yes. And I've heard people say it, and it just doesn't stick in my head, so I never remember how to say it when I go, and I just sound like an idiot instead. So.
With movie reviews, by the way. That's
that's who has.
I've got the
all right.
EFFL over.
So he's probably looking for this to be confirmed so he can gain some points with her being cast in the Assassin's Creed film, because I think that's somewhat of a major role. And I don't know. I think the Assassin's Creed movies could do well. I think there's a lot of cinematic stuff in those games. I mean, I'm not a big gamer, so I haven't played all of them or anything like that, but I've played little bits and pieces of them.
So wait, would that be coming out this year then?
No, it'd be coming out next December.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
almost 2 years from now.
Okay.
A year after Star Wars.
Yeah, it's not coming out against Star Wars. It's going to wait a year. And then the last casting thing, which nobody owns this character in our league, but Cody Smith-McPhee has joined X-Men Apocalypse as Nightcrawler, according to this article from GamesRadar.com, which used to be TotalFilm.com. I'm not really sure what happened there. They must have changed their address or something.
The article, one of the articles I know ends like, subscribe to Total Film to get more news, but it's still the Games Radar.
So they're doing something funky with that. But for X-Men fans, I mean, that should be cool. Cody Smith-McPhee is a pretty good actor, and he's with a bunch of other people that have been cast as younger versions of characters. We've already had the younger version of Storm, Jean Grey, and Cyclops cast. So now we got the younger version of Nightcrawler added to the mix. So that could be interesting. And, of course, it probably will have James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Jennifer Lawrence as some of the main characters there. So carrying over from the other X-Men films. Are you guys excited for X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. I really liked the last X-Men. And the one
Days of Future Past was really good.
They've been doing good on their last, on this run of X-Men.
Yeah. First Class and Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past was awesome last year, so I'm definitely on board with this. And I think it is interesting to see more younger versions of some of these characters, and obviously gives them an opening to cast some lesser-known people. I'm not saying these guys aren't famous, but I'm glad, like, Matt, what you were saying with the other film, that they're going with some more lesser-known people. Because I think if most people, if you name Cody Smith-McPhee, Alexandra Shipp, Sophie Turner, and Ty Sheridan, most of them aren't household names yet.
No.
So I think that's a cool direction to go with this younger cast for X-Men Apocalypse. So definitely looking forward to what happens with that. All right, that's it for the news for this episode, but we do have some trailer talk to go over. we're not going to go all the way back from the last 6 months worth of trailers. That would be silly. But
Some
we
of
will
the
look.
movies have come out.
Yes, since most of the movies have come out, and that would be old news that we're reporting. But we will look back at the last 7 to 10 days worth of trailers. We had trailers debut for Maps to the Stars, Anarchy, The Water Diviner, Crimson Peak, Hot Pursuit, Trainwreck, Regression, Hitman, Agent 47, The Last Nights, and I don't know how to say that Viggo Mortensen movie, so I'm not even going to try.
I want to say it's Waha.
That actually might be right.
Jauga.
It's Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That
It's
whole
mostly
movie's in
Spanish.
Spanish.
Right.
So, like, Waha sounds right.
We'll go with that. We're going to call it Waha from here on out at Weekend at the Movies. So, Nate, we'll start with you. Are any of those trailers pique your interest, or
Yeah,
were they all
Waha.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. They, like, if the whole movie is in that, like, old format, like, it's sort of not a letterbox, but I don't know what you call it, like the full screen.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's gimmicky, but it's nostalgic and it's interesting. It's an interesting design choice for the movie, and I mean it's kind of like a western, so I'm into that. I don't know about it being like a foreign film because I don't know. I'm not into reading too much, and actually when we talk about the movies we've seen, I have a story about some really bad voice dubbing. But anyway,
Nice.
but yeah, no, I mean, like, I could get into that, but definitely that one looks cool. Like
TFG
it really,
and Mike, you'll want to stay away from that one. It's Spanish subtitles.
but it's like it seems like a super personal story, and I don't know, I just like the aesthetics so far, from what I've seen.
What other ones piqued your interest?
That one, the Hitman, Agent 47, just because it's a video game movie. I'm super into video games. And I mean, it looks kind of cool. I don't know. I could go for an action movie like that.
Yeah,
But
I think most people into those types of the gamer movies are looking into that one as something that looks pretty interesting and pretty well done.
If
cool.
I'm remembering correctly, you know what this one has over the previous Hitman movie?
What?
No Uwe Boll.
Was that a Uwe Boll movie?
I'm almost certain.
Okay. Then that.
Oh, it was not.
Oh, wow.
I know that he was looking at it at one time.
Dude, he looks at every video. What's his deal with video game movies?
He likes to take video games you love and ruin them.
He doesn't even seem to like video games. Like, I don't... Like, no one ever talks to Uwe Boll about him liking video... Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, so the other movie is Last Night's. That movie looks cool. Probably...
That's coming out real soon, too.
One of the more original action titles that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, with Clive Owen. That looks like a fun fantasy / I don't know exactly what time period they were. That's supposed to be medieval times, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like a fantasy other world type of thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it looked fun. It looked like it could be something that's good, or it could be something that's terrible. But it had that Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves almost type of feel. I was expecting Russell Crowe to show up at some point. But instead, he showed up in The Water Diviner. What did you guys think of that trailer?
That movie.
Did either of you get a
kinda
chance to watch that one?
brutal.
I watched them. I don't... Let me... Hold on.
That was the one where he's going to another country
Oh.
to try to find his buried kids.
Yeah, that one. Okay, so, like, Waha is like a
Mhm.
Western where trying to find his daughter, and then Water Diviner is kind of like a Western where he's trying to find his sons. It's really weird.
Yeah.
They were back to back.
Back-to-back trailer talk. I thought Water Diviner looked interesting. I thought Russell Crowe looked like he could carry that film, but I don't know. It looks kind of depressing
It
at
looked
the same
like
time.
a good movie. It didn't look like
Right.
an entertaining film.
Yeah. Looked like something that could pretty much depress you and not necessarily keep you on the edge of your seat too much. But sometimes those are the ones that get the best reviews from everybody.
Although I love the entirely unreasonable wife. You can find water, but you can't find your sons. Yeah, they left. What do you want from me?
They went to war and died, you ass.
I found water!
Like,
Jeez!
I get she's a grieving mother, but that was entirely unreasonable.
We're in the desert!
Right? What about you, Matt? Any trailers that caught your interest there?
I mean, I don't know, like, Waha looked good and Water Diviner looked good, but Spectre's probably the one I really have any interest to see. Trainwreck looks funny, but I don't know, I'm almost getting worried that it's almost like, yep, Amy Schumer's typecast now.
I'm hoping it's good because it's got Bill Hader in it, who's on my team. It doesn't need to make any awards. It can't be less than 25% Rotten Tomatoes, please.
and make its budget back.
Yeah, just make your budget and let them give me some appearance points, and I'll be happy. I'm glad, though, I don't have anybody involved in that Hot Pursuit movie because that looked dumb as shit.
No, I didn't see that one.
How many times can we do the movie where there's like the little innocent funny girl that's going to play a cop or some type of detective that has to deal with a criminal or transport someone or I mean, I swear this has been done once a year. And this time it's being done by Reese Witherspoon, who's playing a cop who is in charge of something that obviously she shouldn't be in charge of. I don't know. I don't necessarily see her as that funny of an actress. So, I guess, we got Sandra Bullock doing it. We got Melissa McCarthy doing it. Reese Witherspoon to me sounds like a weird pairing to that plot, but I will not be watching that film. A lot of people, though, are interested in Crimson Peak, and we got the first trailer for that.
Too scary.
Obviously, what's that?
Too scary.
Oh my gosh. So this one I'm super excited for. I didn't even comment on it, but yeah. Scary. Doesn't matter. It's
it's Loki.
It's Tom Hiddleston. No,
Loki goes.
I mean, that's not whatever. But it's Guillermo del Toro. Which is like he's one of the greatest. I don't know. I love him. He's a really good creative mind.
And they're saying that this, according to the trailer, this could be his masterpiece.
Yeah,
so
and I hate that.
What the trailer said.
I can't stand that. Like you don't sell a movie that you've created by saying it's the best thing ever.
Right.
Like, I don't know. You let other people decide that, but I don't know. Whatever.
But definitely will have some hype going into it. I'll watch it, even though it does look a little scary, just to see what the fuss is about. But I thought Maps to the Stars looked somewhat interesting. The trailer for Anarchy really didn't do anything for me, so yeah. I'll probably pass on that one. But those were the trailers this week, and obviously we had some behind-the-scenes footage from Spectre, which is the first stuff we've seen from that. Not necessarily a teaser or a trailer yet, but some footage there. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on for when we do get our first trailer. It'll definitely be something that we are going to talk about. Well, we're going to take a quick break then, and we will be back with our main attraction, which will be just catching up on the 2015 movies so far.
Hi, this is Greg.
This is Chuck.
And this is Dan. And we are Talking in Circles.
Because the world needs another podcast, we are here as Geekcast Radio's newest edition. And as the title says, each week we get lost in conversation about a wide range of topics, including movies, comics, games, art, TV, and even occasionally sports.
We play games and discuss pivotal topics like who would win in a fight, the Kool-Aid Man or Tony the Tiger, and examine the hot-button issues of the world of geekdom.
We keep things fresh by taking timeless topics in new directions. We are simply three friends having a fun time talking about life's most fascinating foibles.
Stay connected with us every Tuesday on iTunes or at geekcastradio.com.
All right, thanks for sticking with us. It's time for our discussion or our main attraction. We're not focusing on one single movie here because obviously we have not had any records that have dealt with 2015 yet. We've had our most anticipated films of 2015, which was an overall episode. We had our box office predictions for 2015, and we had our draft. So we had some more general episodes. It's kind of the first regular episode. So let's take a look at some of the films that actually have been released so far and what we've thought about them. Matt, I'm going to let you start with what films from 2015 have you seen so far?
Just Kingsman and Jupiter Ascending. Have you seen anything other than those two? Well, you've seen Strange Magic. You mentioned that. Yeah,
I saw Strange Magic. I saw The Seventh Son. I saw Mordecai, and The Wedding Ringer, and Taken 3.
Man, you are so much better at this than me.
And I know, Nate, you haven't seen any theater movies yet this year, right?
I don't believe I've seen a theater movie since Box Trolls.
Okay, well, you need to go see Kingsman immediately.
Okay.
And report back to us next time after
Really? You think it's that imperative of a movie?
I want to get his opinion is why I'm saying that. That's the one I'm most interested to see his take on.
I really do want everyone's opinion on that movie.
Yeah, I've heard a bunch so far. I've heard conflicting opinions. Obviously, I was a guest on the True Bromance podcast last week, and we all had pretty good things to say about it. And then I listened to In Session Film right after that, which was basically released almost the next day or the same day as the True Bromance one. And two of the guys on there liked it, and Brendan did not. He really had some major issues with it. So I'm interested to see your take, Matt, and then later on to hear Nate's. But let's start with a couple of the films that you guys haven't seen, just get those out of the way. Taken 3, I don't really know why that was called Taken 3, because it's so far removed from the original Taken that it really doesn't have much besides characters that tie it back together. It's at this point just become Liam Neeson beating people up, which is not entertaining.
It works for Denzel.
It works for people that like that, and you can enjoy the film, but if you've seen Taken 1, it kind of hurts inside when you see Taken 3 a little bit, because nobody's really even taken. So that's one thing.
His dignity is in jeopardy of being taken.
I mean,
that happened when the film released.
How you define taken? I mean, I guess some things were taken from him, but it's not like before. Before, somebody was taken from him, and it was his search to get that person back. This one literally could have been cool because there was like there's obviously an enemy out there. There's a bad guy, so to speak, or a bad organization. And if it would have focused on Liam Neeson kind of hunting them down and doing that would have been fine. But the majority of the movie was Liam Neeson trying to avoid the police and Forrest Whitaker who's trying to hunt him down and apprehend him. So to me, there was way too much of him avoiding and evading the police, and I really wish there could have been more of him and the bad guys. So not that great of a movie. Wedding Ringer, that definitely had its funny moments. If you just want to watch something when it becomes free or when it's on Netflix or something and just have maybe a couple laughs, I would definitely recommend that for that, but I wouldn't suggest anybody spending any money on it. Mordecai, I was definitely alone on. I actually enjoyed Mordecai, and every single person on the internet hates that. So,
and at the box office.
Yeah, the box office hated it. Everybody that likes hating on Johnny Depp, it was a good opportunity for them to vent some more hate towards him. I was entertained. Could it have been better? Yes, but I was entertained. It has Johnny Depp, and it has a bunch of other smaller parts by other actors. I would say that the appearance of Jeff Goldblum was exciting when he appeared, but they did nothing with him, so that was kind of disappointing. But it was just a fun, quirky movie. It almost reminded me of a Wes Anderson movie. And I thought it was funny. Did all the gags work? No. But I was entertained throughout the thing. I smiled and laughed more with Mordecai than I did with Inherent Vice, which I saw in the same week, which I could not recommend to my worst enemy.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you like to get high right before you go see a movie, maybe you would have found Inherent Vice enjoyable.
I had a number of guys at work. We all talked about. We're like, okay, after work on Friday, we're gonna go see Inherent Vice, and apparently no one looked to see if it was coming to the theaters. And I work in a small town, and it was not coming to that theater. But the town we live in, which is larger, had it, but no one was willing to make the journey back to town with me, so I didn't end up seeing Inherent Vice. I guess that's a good thing.
My point with Inherent Vice is when the people that are arguing in its favor have to use the argument that you have to ignore everything that usually you pay attention to in a movie and it's just about the experience, and that you should ignore the plot or ignore character development or ignore the story. To me, that's a problem. I don't want to ignore all those things, especially when the experience wasn't that wasn't that enjoyable for me. There was a few moments where I laughed out loud, but outside of that, I mean, that is just a drug-induced trip of a movie that I don't necessarily need to experience again.
I need to see this movie.
Inherent Vice?
Yes. because it is directed by,
it's a great director, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes, Paul Thomas Anderson. He did There Will Be Blood, and as we've discussed, I can't stop thinking about that movie.
Have we
He's
talked
done
about that?
phenomenal movies.
We talked about
Yeah,
this?
we talked about that a little bit last year.
I mean, the fact
But,
that Nate was like whining at me for like 9 months to watch There Will Be Blood, and then I did.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, you finally did.
Yeah, it's an okay movie.
I liked it a lot.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
I've liked a lot of his other stuff, but this is not one of his films that I enjoyed at all.
Okay.
huh.
But I would be interested in you guys seeing Mordecai and giving me your opinion, because you like all the other Wes Anderson films mostly. And this is not a Wes Anderson film, but for some reason I got just a slight vibe of that. And also Johnny Depp just being crazy, and I guess everybody's going to say he's just playing Jack Sparrow or one of his other kooky characters, but I don't know. I enjoyed it more than everybody else, so I want to know if I'm completely batshit insane or if anybody else would actually like that movie that I know.
You know what gave me a weirdly Wes Anderson vibe? Is
What's that?
The Host, the Korean film that Dan suggested to us. Dan suggested to it like one of my first M-wires, and I've watched it over Halloween weekend. I was like, it's Halloween weekend. We should watch a monster flick, if not a horror movie.
Isn't that a spooky movie?
What?
Isn't The Host spooky?
It's not. It's a monster movie. It's less spooky. It's like more spooky than like Godzilla, but only marginally.
Okay.
Like it's definitely more gore than anything. There are some thrillery elements to it, but it was like literally like a Wes Anderson movie with Godzilla thrown into it. That's what it felt like. It was like it had this weird family dynamic. It was a lot of fun. It was great.
And then the last two that I'll talk about before we get to the ones that Matt has seen also was Seventh Son, which, like I said on the True Romance podcast, if you've seen Hansel and Gretel, the Witch Hunters, from a couple years ago,
yeah,
that's basically what the Seventh Son is. Just with different actors, and instead of Hansel and Gretel being somewhat of a connecting theme to the story, it's all this idea of the seventh son holds some type of magical power that is never explained in the movie, and Jeff Bridges plays an old, guy that has to take on these apprentices that keep dying, and he's got to keep finding the next seventh son because he needs him to kill witches. I don't know what the point of that movie was.
That weird technology element that the Hansel and Gretel movie had? Because that had like steampunky elements to it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one just straight more like fantasy magic type stuff.
I might need to see this before it leaves theaters.
It's basically just a witch hunter movie. I'm going to create that genre now.
I like those.
It's Jeff Bridges and an apprentice trying to kill witches, and one of his apprentices at one point is the dude from Game of Thrones, so if you like that, he shows up. But yeah, I really didn't like that movie that much. I haven't liked most of what I've seen this year so far.
Matt, well, isn't that how it is in January?
Yeah.
Where it's like all the crappy movies that,
Usually.
But no, you've seen Hansel and Gretel, right, Matt?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, come over, watch it.
I mean, it's not that bad of a film. I don't know why they call it Hansel and Gretel or why they even try to incorporate that
totally. It
story.
doesn't make any sense. It's just like, it's brother and sister team killing witches.
Right, and that's what I got out of this film. It was like, I have no idea what the Seventh Son has to do with anything. Why couldn't we just call this two dudes trying to kill witches?
Oh, the best part of Hansel and Gretel is, what's his name? Renner? Jeremy Renner. He eats, when he's a kid, all the sugar from the thing, and then as an adult, he has diabetes. I swear to God. Like, they don't call it diabetes. There's he takes a shot, and it helps him when he has low blood sugar. But,
yeah, I remember that.
Great.
The worst thing about Seventh Son was that Julianne Moore was in it, so thank you very much, Julianne Moore, for all those negative points you got me from that. She plays the main witch.
No, he's talking about his film Fantasy League. He got hurt because that movie didn't do well.
Now you're getting mad at people for not even, like...
Here's the thing that's great, Nate. In 4 episodes from now, when I'm getting all the points and he's not, I'm going to be talking about how it's a dynasty. I've got a dynasty of wins.
Right?
That's a different podcast reference.
Who won? All right.
First of all, Nate, no one wins in the Film Fantasy Podcast League.
Another film I'd be somewhat interested to get your guys' take on is Strange Magic, which is obviously an animated film from the mind of George Lucas, which is both scary and interesting at the same time, to figure out if anything good can come from his mind anymore. That is also a musical. It's an animated musical, but it uses mostly songs that you already know.
Oh dear.
Okay.
What is this for?
So I think they might have wrote one original song in that, but otherwise it's basically a fantasy animated film that's a musical based on popular songs already that span the generations. Like you have modern songs, you have old school classic songs.
Also, it's based on Shakespeare's The Tempest, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh,
I'm not familiar with Tempest out of all of Shakespeare's stuff. I'm familiar with a lot of his other stuff, but not
a lot
Tempest.
of fairy stuff in Tempest.
Yeah. But it's basically, there's like this dark world and then there's the light world, so to speak. And it's dealing with kind of a bunch of love stories. They were a little too heavy on the whole love angle in this story. And, love conquers all and, people from opposite sides of the tracks can fall in love type of thing. But it was visually entertaining and it was fun to watch. I thought it was all going to be like original music, though. When they started singing like songs I knew, I was a little thrown off, but I don't think it's as bad as people will make it out to be. I'll say that much. It's fun. Kids could enjoy this. I don't see why it would be that big of a deal.
Easy to hate on George Lucas nowadays, so.
Yeah. Johnny Depp, George Lucas, those people, Will Smith, it's easy to hate on these people.
Will Smith's in that?
No.
Oh.
I'm just talking about other people that are easy to hate on.
Oh, dude. Who hates on Will Smith? He was
everybody nowadays.
He was the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, but then he did that movie he's doing movies all with his kids now and trying to make them famous, and people don't like it.
Yeah, it's a little unnecessary.
But Matt, what? Get to your two films here, and I want to hear your reaction. So start with Jupiter Ascending. What did you think about that?
Well, it's anyone who follows me on Twitter, which I believe is 0 of our listeners, will already know my opinion because one of my close friends asked me. And the funny thing is that it's like, when the movie was done, we were all sitting there in the theater, chit-chatting. Like, if you'd asked me, I'm like, I don't know, like a 2.5 out of 5. But the more I talk about it, the more I begin to just hate that movie. Like, Nate asked me about an hour after the movie, or I got his text like an hour after the movie, and I was like, it's like Godzilla with a worse... It's like Godzilla, only it has a worse love story than Thor. Like, the love story, just an hour and a half, hour into the movie, all of a sudden, with zero build-up or anything, she goes, you know what, I love you. She just turns to her co-host or whatever and goes, I think I love you now.
Co-host of the movie.
Channing Tatum.
So when you say it's like Godzilla, does that mean that, like, none of the fun stuff actually happens until, like, 5 seconds before it ends, and then
like
it's
the
over?
reverse of Godzilla in that way.
I was talking with a friend, and apparently there was 12 minutes of Godzilla in the movie of Godzilla.
Yeah.
That much?
It probably counts like when they're in the house and he's on the TV.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Anyway, sorry, sidetrack.
I guess it's the reverse of that in that it literally the only thing this movie had to offer was its very big special effects budget.
Yeah.
It was just massive ships. Just like weird technology that doesn't make any sense even within its own world, things like that. I'm
completely fine with technology not needing to make sense in movies.
It bothers me when it becomes a plot issue, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fun things to watch in this film. It's kind of like like I said was on the In Session Film podcast when we talked about Jupiter Ascending, and I gave most of my thoughts on there, so you should go listen there. I'm not going to rehash it all. But a lot of the technology, it's fun in the way like that Back to the Future or Star Trek technology is fun, like just to see like what kind of inventive things they thought of that could happen in the future in this world. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of world building that goes on in this film, but the Wachowskis were just way too ambitious with this film.
Yeah.
They have enough material in here for 2 to 3 films, and they try to pack it all into one.
Yep. And
you just end up not caring about anything. You don't care about any of the characters. You don't care about any of the relationships. There's like this space dynasty family with 2 brothers and a sister, and
which you get nothing of for an hour and a half into the movie, and then all of a sudden it's 100% of the movie from there on.
Right. they share like a scene at the beginning of the film, and then they never share a scene again the whole film. And it just deals with Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum like visiting each one at a time, and it's just like 2 seconds here, 2 seconds there. I just never cared about anything.
Like, and there's so many things that bother me. Some of them are things that shouldn't bother me. Like, there's like a part where Channing Tatum, like, okay, so he's immune to just everything. Like, at one point he's fighting like 5 starfighters, and all he has is a shield, but he wins because he's Channing Tatum. But it's just like it just doesn't make like any logical sense or anything like that. But like, he gets hurt, but it's like not even a thing. It's like, oh hey, you're bleeding. It's like, don't worry about it. And then like
I'm good.
And then like in the next scene, like he's all healed up and he takes his shirt off, and then he doesn't get a shirt for like 40 minutes. It was like, I'm literally just like
he's
watching.
He's supposed to be this like mostly animalistic wolf
man
type character, and they talk and they mention a reference about, you know, these times before where the wolf part of him has come out too much and he's just this wild, you know, uncontrollable force. Yet for the entire movie he does nothing that suggests that's actually a thing.
No,
he never acts wolf-like. He never loses his shit. He never is uncontrollable.
Yeah.
He just keeps coming to the rescue last minute to save her from being dumb.
And then like they talk about how like he was like the runt of the litter, so he like they booted him out of the army, and so he didn't have a pack, and without a pack they always die. And then like they don't talk about that for another 2 hours, and then at the end he's like, I think I found that thing I've always needed, but he doesn't say pack, and it's like, oh you found your pack, and it's Mila Kunis, whatever, who cares? No one cares.
This movie is written so poorly.
Never heard of a lone wolf?
No, that's what it was. It was literally like he is the lone wolf the whole movie, and then he's like, now I found my pack.
My pack of one.
All right.
It's like Zach Galifianakis and the Wolf Pack. But no, this movie is so poorly written that they even do the same exact plot line twice in a row in 2 different circumstances.
No, like literally, he goes, we gotta fight that one brother, and then it's like, zoom forward 2 minutes, we gotta fight that other brother in the exact same scene.
and it's like almost the same sequence with the 2, because the one, she's about to make a decision that's bad.
It's like,
I'm
hey,
not spoiling it, but she's about to make a bad decision.
Well, it's literally just like, hey, evil guy wants you to sign a contract, you should do it. And then he has to
and
come
Channing Tatum's trying to race through space to get to her to be like, don't do that. And he has to like save the day. And then like 2 minutes later, the exact same thing happens with the other brother.
Different evil brother wants you to sign a different evil contract. Channing
Tatum racing through space. Like,
holy shit.
What is going on here?
Oh.
But I mean, it had potential. It could have been good maybe if it was spread over some time and we actually got some development so that we cared about the different relationships and the different characters. But
2 or 3 movies, it could have been really, really good.
It's kind of, and I said this on the other podcast, like the whole first movie should be the Channing Tatum and whoever is working on his side trying to get Mila Kunis off of Earth. Like, set that all up of how important she is, but how there's this blockade that's preventing her from getting off Earth, and they have to somehow get her to safety with one of the siblings. Like, that could have been the whole first movie. And then the second movie could have been the whole storyline with that sibling or with 2 of them. And then the last movie could be the whole climax with the final sibling. So, I don't know. It rushed it and I didn't like it.
It also, like, would do something that I'm just sitting there in the theater going, why are they doing this? This doesn't make any sense for, like, these characters. Like, the earliest one I can think of is when they're just, like, starfighters just flying through New York, and they're just destroying, like, all of New York. It's like Man of Steel all over again. Just like New York, or Chicago, right? Chicago?
Right. But they have the Men in Black device, so it's all right.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it's like they're just tearing ass through Chicago, destroying it. I'm sure thousands of people die. There's, like, billions of property damage. And I'm just going, okay, if they don't care about Chicago, why don't they just orbitally bombard Chicago? Like, they've got this giant spaceship up in orbit, just blast Chicago. And then, like 10 minutes later, you realize, oh no, Chicago actually didn't get damaged because they've got super machines and no one's going to remember because they've got other super machines. But then she goes out to a farm in the outskirts of Chicago and they know where she's at and they don't orbitally remember that one.
But he did have a cool space skates, so I guess that was
really cool.
It was cool the way they did that.
It's one thing that they share with the Sonic the Hedgehog games.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum is like Shadow the Hedgehog.
It was their Back to the Future hoverboard moment where they were trying to go for. What about Kingsman, Matt? I'm interested to see. What was your take on that film?
It was a lot better than Jupiter Ascending.
That's true.
Kingsman.
Matthew Vaughn, who did Kick-Ass, he did X-Men First Class, he did Layered Cake, and he did Stardust. And a lot of people say good things about every single one of those films. A lot of people are very much high on Matthew Vaughn and his ability to not make a bad movie. Have you seen any of his past stuff?
I saw Stardust. That's the one that's based on a Neil Gaiman comic.
With Robert De Niro as the space guy.
Space
and
pirate.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. What were the other ones?
Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class.
Of course, First Class. That's the only ones I can think of. I haven't seen Layer Cake. So yeah, I didn't. I don't know. When I'm not doing the podcast, I don't really look into things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that in my mind going in.
Well, let me ask you this: most people, I even looked for bad reviews on this. I went to Rotten Tomatoes, found everybody that wrote a bad review, read their whole reviews, and it was unanimous as to what parts they didn't like. So it seems like it's universal that the first half of the movie everybody loves. Were you in that same camp that you really liked I'm talking about everything pre-church scene?
It was very intense, way more intense during that bit than I thought. I didn't know there was going to be the whole weird home situation and getting beat up in the neighborhood. I guess I didn't pick up on that in the trailers. The trailers had well, you're a juvenile delinquent, but I didn't have it's going to be a depressing home situation and stuff. So I didn't expect that. But
as far as the training goes,
bad. It was I don't know, the train. I thought there needed to be more training. It seemed more like it was hey, here's some situations and you'll have to figure it out. I figured he wasn't prepared nearly enough.
Right.
But it was entertaining, and F&A if I didn't know Mark Hamill was gonna be in that movie.
No doubt.
It's just 2 minutes in, Mark Hamill shows up. Not even a minute in. I was like, what?
Tim from First Time Watchers didn't even know Mark Hamill was going to show up in this film.
Got it.
But I was definitely surprised by that. I enjoyed that. I liked all the training. I agree with you. I would have liked to see even how more of the people fell out and got eliminated, or to see more of that. But I understand that they could only do so much. But I too found the first half very entertaining. Where people have the problem is from the church scene on. Did you have issues with the church scene itself, or the second half of the movie?
It gets especially campy from there on.
Mm-hmm.
Amy and I talked about this, where it's there's silly, and then there's campy, and you can do silly on accident, you can do weird on accident, but I don't know if you can do campy on accident. It has certain beats to it, and so it's if you go, is this what they were trying to do? Yeah, that's what they were trying to do, and it didn't kill it for me. I will admit that the church scene was a little weird and ridiculous. And
it was out of nowhere for me. I don't know why I didn't expect that. Obviously, he has a certain style that he definitely showed in Kick-Ass, but I wasn't expecting the level that we got from the church scene. It kind of threw me off guard for a minute.
There's some brutal things in the church scene that were very...
it's well filmed.
Yeah.
As far as compared to Jupiter Ascending, where a lot of the action I couldn't follow. Because it was just a whirlwind of action that I have no idea who's hitting who. It was almost like the first Transformer movie. But this one I could follow everything, but at times I was maybe didn't need to follow some of that.
Camera's a little too shaky and a little too now you're in this guy's head, and also he's not walking like a normal human, so good luck with that.
Right.
I just liked those camera things, but generally you could follow what was happening in the room, yeah.
And it definitely was from my opinion of it and what I took away from it, it's definitely, I think the campiness is somewhat intentional. It seems like it's definitely trying to be that film that kind of speaks to all of the other spy genre films. It doesn't take itself too serious. It's trying to, call out the different things that those spy movies do, and the different tropes amongst the spy movie genre. And it even goes as far to, name a bunch of different spy genre stuff, as well as other movies. I mean, there's a lot of movie talk in this movie.
Yep.
Whether it be in, James Bond and the Bourne Identity and Jack Bauer and that type of stuff, or whether it even be when they were talking about the My Fair Lady and some of those other things. So, I mean, I think they're definitely aware of what they're doing, and I think it's impossible not to be intentionally campy when you have Samuel L. Jackson doing a lisp like he was doing. Like that's a choice.
You know that going in that he had that lisp?
I saw one of the trailers that he had it, and I just wasn't sure, what that was, if that was like a gag that they were doing, or if it was going to be his actual character. And then as soon as he's like in his get-up and talking, I'm like, this is going to happen throughout the whole movie. My only issue with that is that he wasn't consistent with it. And I tend to give him a lot of leniency, but his lisp was coming in and out during that movie.
Yeah,
there was lines where he had it and lines where he didn't.
I don't like the lisp.
Yeah,
like,
I could have done without
be
that.
A bit more Sam Jackson-y, I guess, in that respect. Because I like Sam Jackson being Sam Jackson, where he's
Right.
either yelling or he's talking really low because he's about to yell.
Yeah, but I definitely liked the nods that they were doing, and then how they even come out and say, this is what would happen in a typical spy movie, but this isn't the typical spy movie or something like that. Like I thought those were cool. I thought there was a lot of little twists and turns that some could be predicted and some couldn't be, but because there were so many of them, it kept me entertained. Even through the training on what's real and what's not real and what's the consequence and what's not the consequence. And then throughout the movie, too. I mean, I just thought this was a fun film. I was entertained throughout the whole thing. What were your issues with it, if you had any, Matt? Besides, you had mentioned, like, showing more of the training, which I agree with.
Yeah, like, I feel like, I mean, if the last 15 minutes happened the way they did, it's like, this kid did not get trained to be this good.
Right.
I didn't feel like there was much training so much as it was just like you were watching the reality TV, Spy Kids, the reality TV show, and then all of a sudden he was amazing. But, it's a movie, and they had the time and a budget and whatever.
They tried to throw some of it in there by saying, like, oh, he was this child gymnast, and he had some military. He was in the Marines for a time. They kind of try to get them way out, but I think that's, too. It's something that you don't... They had to jump pretty fast into him being the main badass, so I can see that.
I think I really liked Sam Jackson's assistant.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a little upset that they made her in this movie and not Kill Bill Volume 3 because she was like straight out of the Kill Bill.
Yeah, she was deadly, and when they were about to fight at the end, I thought he was screwed.
Yeah, it's one of those like, well, wait, she's like the coolest character in this movie, so you can't be the hero.
It's like, I don't know how you beat this character.
I am a little concerned about the end of the movie. Not like the end of the movie, and it's like, okay, whatever. But now it's like, oh, we're doing a sequel now. There's a lot of explaining to do because the world is going to not be the same place, and they're either going to A, botch that terribly in the sequel, or B, spend 90% of the sequel fixing it, which is going to be a terrible movie. Like I don't see it going well. It was really like a one-off movie, and I'm a little sad that they're making a sequel.
Yeah, I could do without a sequel because I think it was a good standalone movie as well. Colin Firth is great. Mark Strong's great. You got Michael Caine in there. So, I mean, there's a lot of great acting in here and great character pieces. So I had a lot of fun with it. It's my favorite movie so far that I've seen this year. I don't know how long that'll last. Once I haven't said this yet, but once we get to... I've seen 7 movies this year. Once I get to number 10... I'm going to start doing written reviews for each movie I do, and each time I do a review, I'm going to have a running top 10 list. So as it changes, I'll change it throughout the year. But right now, definitely Kingsman is on top. So Nate, you got to go see it. Give us your opinion.
Okay.
We don't usually do too much of a score here. That might be something we do going forward if we talk about a specific movie. But since we were talking about a bunch of them, there's nothing really to score. If we're talking about stuff to see coming out this weekend, there's not much. February 20th, theater releases Duff, Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and McFarland USA with Kevin Costner. Yeah, so I guess you can catch up on Kingsman or watch something else that might be Oscar-related that's in your theater. But I don't think, unless you really want to see Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
Or 50 Shades of gonna do really well at the box office.
Yes. Don't give that movie any more money, guys. Please don't. I realize it was Valentine's Day last week and your significant other made you go see it, but stop with that. That needs to make no more money. No, I did not.
2 Valentine's Day points.
How do you know it's bad?
It's bad.
Well, I can give you two very objective. Well, one objective, one subjective thing. One, I actually posted an article on my Twitter that points out how terrible it is as far as misrepresenting the BDSM community and how dangerous that relationship is mentally for both characters. And then two, it was written as a piece of Twilight fan fiction originally and changed to be not Edward and Bella so that she could publish it. And it reads like you're reading a piece of internet fan fiction. Like, the writing, it was hard. Like, I read, like, 2 chapters, and it was very difficult.
Right.
So 2 pieces of Valentine's Day, whatever. I saw Jupiter Ascending and Kingsman about 3-4 days apart. One on Valentine's Day, because I always see a movie on Valentine's Day with my girlfriend. We saw Kingsman on Valentine's Day, and then Jupiter Ascending later. She said we should have switched them, because Jupiter Ascending is way more of a Valentine's Day style movie. So if you're looking for a Valentine's Day style movie, that's the one to go for. Because it takes 0 risks, and it's very predictable.
There you go.
Just like Valentine's. And then the other bit was, in Kingsman, my girlfriend is 100% certain that there's a deleted scene that'll probably be on a DVD or somewhere. If you remember, someone was like, yada yada, what's your password, Colin Firth's character? And then they don't tell you what it is. And then later, there's the character Mr. Pickles, and my girlfriend is 100% certain his password's Mr. Pickles, and it's in a deleted scene somewhere. So,
interesting.
I'm shrugging in real life. I did a physical thing to the microphone. I am looking at my microphone, which is not looking at my computer. I'm like talking directly to it.
Or if you're really looking for something to do, which the people in our little podcasting film community will probably shrug their shoulders at this one, because most of them hated it, but Saturday, February 21st at 3 p.m. in select theaters, you can go see a extended footage version of Interstellar. So I know most people want to say that was a terrible movie, but it was actually somewhat entertaining to me. But there's an additional, I think, like 20 minutes or something like that added to the film. It's only happening Saturday. It's a one-day only thing. So it's Saturday, February 21st at 3 p.m., and there's only like a dozen theaters in the country that are doing it. So it might be one near you that you can go see an extended version of Interstellar. Otherwise, there is going to be some stuff to watch for this week, even if you don't want to go to the theater to see some of that stuff, because next Tuesday, right after the weekend, we do have some big releases on DVD. Big Hero 6 is coming out to DVD Blu-ray. Whiplash, which a lot of people had at the top of their list or in their top 10 last year, is coming out on Tuesday into Blu-ray. Horrible Bosses 2, and also the Frank Darabont collection. And if you're not familiar with who he is, he's the guy behind Green Mile, Majestic, and Shawshank Redemption. There's a 3-pack Blu-ray coming out on Tuesday of those 3 films as well. So I'm looking forward to it because I can finally watch both Big Hero 6 and Whiplash, which I missed last year, regrettably. So any of those things... Go ahead, Matt.
You didn't see Big Hero 6 in the theaters?
Nope. I missed Big Hero 6.
What?
Yeah. So I'll have to correct that by watching it here next week. So, but also definitely looking forward to seeing Whiplash, because that's supposed to be good, and that's what J.K. Simmons is getting the nomination for, so I got to see what the buzz is all about. All right, so I think that does it for this week. I didn't have a question prepared for this first coming back film, but Matt or Nate, do either of you guys have any questions you want to bring to the viewers as we make our return here in 2015?
Who thinks Colin Firth's password is Mr. Pickles?
Why is that a thing?
I don't
understand that.
It's just 2-bit scenes that were in the movie.
You don't understand it because you didn't see the movie.
All right, fine, whatever.
He wouldn't have picked up on it anyway.
I guess one question we could put out there to the listeners is, what do you want to see from us in 2015?
Yeah, what do you want us to do?
Yeah, what do you want us to do? What do you want us to get rid of? What do you want us to add?
Watch movies.
What do you want us to do about it, listeners?
what do you want us to spend more time on, less time on, that type of stuff. And like I said, there is going to be some interesting stuff going forward. We're going to have some different spotlights that we look at, some older films. There's going to be some fun stuff in there as well. So you'll have to just stay tuned to hear what kind of different stuff we do. But there will be some new movie talk as well along the way when we get chances to see new films. And there's a bunch of them coming out that we're looking forward to. So we should have time to watch at least some of the big ones. So you'll hear from us about that. And the new segment will be slightly different too going forward. So you'll hear a different dynamic when we come to our news and our headlines and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll keep it a little fresh and entertaining for you guys. Matt, anything as far as looking forward to 2015 or anything you want to bring out there before we close this episode out?
I need to continue my dynasty of winning movie games. I know they liked me winning those.
Yes, so we will be bringing back some movie games as well to see how well Matt and Nate can compare to each other. Or, at times, when Dan's involved, we might have some three-person competition in the movie games. So we'll see how that goes. Nate, anything you're looking forward to from the show for this next year?
I'm looking forward to getting back into, like, talking about movies, because I literally haven't seen any movies since the podcast ended.
We're bringing Nate back to the theater, or at least going to give him some homework projects as far as DVDs to watch.
I did watch probably like 25 movies since I've moved.
Nice.
So like I've been just watching every movie I can that when I have time, but I haven't seen anything in the theaters.
We'll have to get some feedback on those films here sometime soon.
Yeah, I own the movies, and that's free and less
time consuming,
cumbersome, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
I don't have to go anywhere.
We're going to have some less cumbersome episodes going forward where you guys don't have to go anywhere, don't have to spend much money or any money, so that'll be fun. And next week, based on the fact that there's nothing coming out in theaters this week, we will be doing a special themed episode right off the bat next week. So you'll get a fun taste for what that could consist of starting with next week's episode. So, all right, go ahead.
He said that sounds good.
Oh, that sounds good. I agree. So thanks as always for joining us here at Weekend at the Movies. Contact us in the following ways. Email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. Visit the forums and episode post. Go to geekcastradio.com. That's the best way. And find the episode post and write a comment. We will respond. You can visit the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio Network, and Mike will keep you up to date with everything that happens as far as the Geekcast Radio Network. The best ways to interact with us, at least for me and Matt, I'm not sure exactly, Nate, how active you've been on Twitter, but the best way to keep interacting with us is through Twitter. We will respond. Mine is at Optimus Solo. Matt, what is your Twitter?
I'm at Fridley Set, and I will respond.
And Nate, what's your Twitter?
Nothing better.
I'm at Adolfo Shabadoo, and I have a thing on my phone that like if you talk to me, it might go boop.
There we go.
He does not open Twitter unless you boop him, though.
Yeah.
Gotta add him. You gotta mention him. So, talk to us on Twitter. That's the best way to interact with us. Otherwise, we will see you next weekend for another episode of Weekend at the Movies.